and had conference calls with the city of Charlotte and the city of Jacksonville with their affordable housing departments. And our city is a liaison to the Housing Advisory Board, as I was assigned by Mayor Dyer and Vice Mayor Wilson. We don't have an affordable housing crisis. We have a lack of desire to build affordable housing. Last year in this city, we built 35% more homes and apartments than we had the previous year, and only 10% of those were affordable. We have to, if we're going to sell city property or give city property away, we have to require, just like many other municipalities, that there be an affordable option. When you look at the last 2 deals we've done, whether it be the silos, whether it be the apartments coming into Pembroke Mall, there's no affordable, or Laskin Road, they got $1 million to put a stoplight in because they had a restaurant. 0% affordable. We don't have an affordable crisis. We have a lack of desire and leadership as it relates to affordable housing. Thank you.
Councilwoman Wooten.
So in terms of the Green Line, as we know, that Green Line was established in 1979, and it was for a reason, because they did not want the policy council members at that time did not want sprawling invasion in that area. And so they want to make sure that it is certainly secluded to 2 areas. That's the Prison Stand Commons and the ITA. And so if we're going to extend any type of development, it has to be in those areas. And then the city has to find other areas to acquire for development. In terms of affordable housing, certainly we do have to make sure that we're providing affordable housing that people can afford. Most folks are priced out. Those who live here can't afford, who work here can't afford to live here. And so we're gonna have to find ways to look at what we have, maintain it, make sure it's affordable, and then find other opportunities to create affordable housing at all different areas for those who need it, young adults, seniors, and those most importantly who work here.
Thank you.
No to the Green Line, and you have to understand, I see hands right now that want to raise their taxes and pay more taxes for affordable housing. In the last 20 years, our debt loads went through the roof. Our assessments went way up. They just increased the mill rate. How can the average person afford to live here? How do you stop that when in my neighborhood, they're tearing down a $300,000 house and building $1 million home? Have you seen the price, what it costs to build? Who's going to pay for that? Building materials are through the roof. Copper's through the roof. Wood is through the roof. Plastic's through the roof. Who's going to pay for that? You guys? Anybody volunteer? That's the problem here. These houses are selling, and they're collecting a lot more taxes. It's an interesting twist, because I've had inspectors come to my house and go, RK, we got a question for you. How is it that we put all these new houses online, collect more and more money, and yet we keep raising taxes? And I pointed over to the oceanfront at a hotel. I said, that's why.
Let's put it this way, housing is a crisis nationally, especially in Virginia Beach. We are running out of land, and that is a problem. One of the 2 problems with getting affordable housing right now, first of all, with inflation, it's driving the cost of materials, supply chain problems, and everything. And right now, with a lot of the regulations that are out there, according to Wells Fargo Mortgage, there's a $93,000 regulatory fee that goes into every new house getting built. So we got to be a little bit smarter. We've got to talk about infill development like we're going to be doing at Kemps River Shopping Center, a shopping center that is underperforming. And so we're going to repurpose it with homes and businesses and everything. And we've got community buy-in. But once again, I think we have to bring people to the table so they understand what we are doing and why. We're going to have to make some tough decisions going forward, but let's bring the public into the discussion. Thank you.
We're here where we're at because we made poor leadership decisions looking backwards. We have a leadership crisis, and that is correct. Our population growth is 0.3%. If it wasn't for live births, we would have declined in population. So it isn't population growth that is driving this. We have 4,775 affordable homes. not counting the 435 homes owned by the Virginia Beach Community Development Corporation with a market value of over $40 million, which is over $300 a month tax advantage when they rent those homes. And they say full. We should be using that. But are we giving the Circuit City property to that organization to build housing? No. But what did we do? We approved a luxury apartment on Pleasure House Road called Windsong. Rents are $2,600 a month starting for 2-bedroom apartment, and put 836 housing on Pleasure House Road at 2 Lane Road. So the issue isn't that we can't do affordable housing. We've chosen to reward VPAC investors. Thank you.
So now we'll move to our sheriff's question. We'd like to start with Aldo, if he can hear me. Aldo? Said he can, but he's bad.
I can. Go ahead. Yes. Well, I have empathy. Pamela, can they hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I have empathy for that question. When I was falsely jailed in October of 2023, on the intake exam for medical, my blood pressure was 200 over 160. I got no follow-up care. I was unlawfully jailed for 3 days. During that time, I asked for medical attention 3 times. I got no response. So I have lived that. There are a lot of problems in our jails. I would step in and audit a lot of the systems. The telephone system in the jail is horrible, and it fleeces the inmates horribly. Making a call could cost you upwards of $3 a call, and oftentimes the connections are really bad or they're lost. So there are problems across the board, not just with the medical service systems. In fact, I had one deputy who apologized to me and said, "I'm sorry, sir, things were just screwed up in here." So I can tell you firsthand, there's a lot of stuff wrong that needs to be audited. It's time for a change. Okay, there's concerns about how the commissary is being run. There are allegations that the commissary is being run on a consignment or a concession that has to
answer that question. Yes, and this is the first time I've been in a forum or debate where I talked to somebody running for sheriff that was in my jail. So this is very awkward for me. But I can tell you this, the reason we have been through several contracts is because we make sure that we have the very best service. Let's talk.
All right. Thank
All right,
you.
folks. Look, we're trying to do a public service here. Let's let the folks who have come out tonight and blessed us with their time tell us about their fantasies and their positions. We can interact with them individually, say whatever you want afterwards, one at a time. But let's let everybody hear right now. Let's restart the timer and go ahead here.
If anybody has a problem with Sheriff Rocky Holcomb, I ain't hard to find. I promise you that. So let me just say this: I've been in negotiations with the contracts for these healthcare providers, and we make sure that we have the very best healthcare that we can get. And as these companies get smaller and can't handle the size of our jail, we have to go out and renegotiate and find new contracts. And we have a contract now that we're happy with, but I can tell you this: as the sheriff, we're constantly doing an audit on all of our services. And if they don't provide the services they need, we will move on to another one. We're paying almost $8 million a year in medical care at the correction facility. And I can guarantee you to the taxpayers, each and every one of you, you're going to get your $8 million worth. We're not going to allow anybody to cut any corners or do anything like that. So the minute we find out they're not up to standards, we take care of them and get out of there. Thank you.
Next question is for you, Councilwoman Dunn. City council members had 1 vote out of 11, the same as the mayor. Aside from the agenda setting, what other powers do you believe the mayor's office different and better suited to carry out the vision?
Well, what I think about that question is, listen, it's not a one man or woman show. It's gonna take collaboration. When you look at council meetings, it's the council working together. It's not the mayor's meeting, it's council's meeting. And so in terms of getting things done, sure, we have an agenda that we set, but I think the most important thing is to work with my colleagues around the table to ensure that what they need done in their districts, because we have independent districts and a 10-1 system, to make sure they get the priorities done in their districts and work together to make sure that we're making the priorities of the citizen matter and that we're using those priorities to improve our city.
Mr. Walker.
20 years I've talked about this. The mayor and council is one and the same. A mayor is a councilman, it's a title of mayor. There is no power difference. Everybody has to work together. You gotta have 6 votes or 9 votes, whatever you have to do. But the problem is, it's lacking leadership. You've got 4 councilmen who's sitting here right now that work together. They're all running for the same seat. There's no power difference in any of this, guys. It's the same power. You don't get anything extra. $2,000 a year for a ceremonial position. You gotta ask yourself, what does it mean? 4 council members running right now, 3 current and 1 past, running for a position that has the same power as they already hold. They don't get anything extra. They don't get 2 votes. That should concern everybody in this room. That's a big point. It is the point. You need change. And obviously you're not getting it. In 20 years, it's not changed. Except taxes are going up. People are leaving.
Thank you very much. You know, the fact is, yes, I am one of 11, is mayor form of government and council manager form of government. But let me say that a lot of times that you are the face of the city at times, especially in times of tragedy and terrible incidents and good things too that really happen. And then we're also external. We work with the region, with the Hampton Roads Alliance, the Hampton Roads Planning Commission, the transportation authorities, Go Virginia, trying to make the economy of the entire region better. But once again, it takes collaborative skills. You know, when you have a diverse group of people, you need somebody that knows how to bridge build and knows how to get along with people and try to build consensus and try to find commonality going forward. And you know something? There's 85% of the people with an ODU report says that people in this city are very happy with us.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Well, many people don't realize there is one executive decision-making that the mayor has that no one else has, is to declare a holiday. And that costs you about $500,000. So there's one power. And one power we can talk about by state law, the mayor of the city is the city's voting member of the Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission. So that is another power that they have. The most important power they are the presiding officer of the council meeting. And now they're the only elected member at large. So they are the only person that has a legitimacy to say that they are accountable to all the people, and they have an ability to try to shape and to bring the council together, which means you don't expedite a planning item without telling the district council member you've done so and surprise that person. But we need to rechange how we operate to reflect the 10-1 system, to empower the district people to not require a second or 2 other partners to get something on the agenda.
Councilman Taylor. I appreciate the question, but I think the issue is not about power. When you're a native of this city, when your family's been here 200 years, the last thing you want to see is our brand diminish. As a ceremonial leader, the mayor is our ceremonial leader on the local level, the national level and the international level. Last year in October, when the tragic incident happened overseas, and we had hate taking place in our city, the mayor and I worked together. He sent me to Fort Lauderdale to the North American Mayors Summit on Hate and Anti-Semitism. That assisted the entire community. We handed that gentleman, the CEO of Combat Anti-Semitism, a proclamation signed by the mayor. I gave the mayor credit, but I represented our city for Mayor Dyer. This year, Mayor Dyer, when they finally came back to Norfolk for the first time to have a summit against hate, which is prevailing in our community, Mayor Dyer and I both attended that meeting as well. I was on a panel, Mayor Dyer gave remarks. The ceremonial leader must represent our city, they must represent our youth, they must represent our image, and brand is important. This is not about power, it's about Virginia Beach being represented with someone that looks like and represents our city. Thank you.
Okay, Sheriff, the next question is for you. How will the sheriff's office be impacted, such as in the recruiting and retention efforts that the city of Virginia Beach allows collective bargaining for its employees?
Thank you. So collective bargaining, as the statute was written, it exempts constitutional officers. So constitutional officers are exempt from the collective bargaining process. So it wouldn't affect my employees because they're appointees. And so the collective bargaining wouldn't have anything to do with the sheriff's office. But I look forward to see what the city's going to do moving forward with it. But as far as the statute goes, it doesn't affect constitutional officers.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me? Great. I'm glad that Mr. Holcomb acknowledges the fact that he is a constitutional officer. I defer to his comment that the collective bargaining does not impact constitutional officers at this time. I would also, though, like to point out that Mr. Holcomb was unlawfully sworn in as our sheriff on October 29, 2023, when his predecessor, Ken Stolley, left with 27 months left on his elected term. Our Virginia Code 24.2-228.1 and 24.2-68.2C says that when a constitutional officer leaves office with more than 12 months remaining, they must promptly hold an election for the replacement. That did not happen lawfully. There was no petition from city council, no writ, or no order from the court as required in the code in the public record. The only thing in the public record is an unlawfully signed order from Chief Judge Lewis, accepted by elected clerk Tina Sinnen, the Supreme Court of Virginia.
Thank you both. Returning to the mayoral candidates, RK, you'll be first on this answer. The question is, does it matter who operates the aquarium, the Virginia Beach National Golf Course, the Sportsplex, the Sandler Center, and how much should Virginia Beach taxpayers contribute to their support?
Sure, it matters who's operating it, because if you have a bad operator, somebody doesn't know what they're doing, it is a big problem. But what's more important is that we don't give up what we own. The aquarium shouldn't be given up. We should not sell that off. That's a landmark for Virginia Beach. We need that at the oceanfront. We need that. It's an attraction for the kids. We shouldn't be giving it to a private individual for whatever reason. This city is very wealthy. We don't need to keep selling off stuff, and then what we're doing with the money. It goes back to stormwater. It's the same way. We've collected almost $1 billion in stormwater fees before we just collected another $500 million. And you got to ask yourself, where's the money going? It's funny that every time a developer needs some money, there's tons of money there. But every time we need something, we have to raise taxes. And you shouldn't be doing that when your revenues are going up. Revenues are going up, taxes are going up, inflation's going up. Taxpayers need relief. It needs to stop.
We have what I call URP, ugly reality of politics. The fact of the matter is the aquarium is now 40 years old. And it was conveyed to us that it would need between $200 and $300 million to get it back up to speed. At a time when we have all these competing CIP projects, stormwater, schools, unfunded CIPs. So what we did, it was not to sell it, but to see if we could get a contract operator for it. But once again, this was part of a solution that we have to have. Believe me when I say it, the ultimate goal is the viability and survivability of the jewel that is one of the best assets in this Commonwealth of Virginia, if not this nation. It is a draw. We will not abandon it. Ultimately, we'll get together. We will do what's right, save the aquarium, and value all the employees that work for it. Thank you.
You mentioned a number of issues, and one of these things have something all in common. Lack of attention to detail and oversight all the time. That aquarium just all of a sudden didn't have fish tanks that need to be replaced. The issues at those people in the city that position was vacant for 5 years doing no oversight of the golf course. So there's a lot of issues, but one thing you don't do is you don't solve problems one-on-one. You put all the demands on the table like you do at home, and then you have to prioritize them, and then have a communication with the owners. You own the city, bring you into the conversation. What are these things you value? What are you willing to pay higher taxes for? What are you willing to give up? Comprehensive examination. This 101 is no way to conduct business, and you need to ask, how did we get this far along before it came to the council's attention? Someone in the food chain is accountable, and if you don't hold them accountable, the public's going to hold us accountable.
I'm going to be respectful, and this is not a debate, but this is a leadership issue. I'm proud of my time at DuPont, a Fortune 100 company, where we were hired to come into organizations to help them solve problems. We never went onto a client site and spent 3 or 4 months and gave recommendations for them to ignore them. There's individuals at this table that voted for the sports center. It's on the record. The consultant told us there's not another municipality doing it like this, but because individuals that are consultants to some of the elected officials and had certain contractors, they went in that direction. As a result, we had to bail them out for $4 million last year. When you look at the Sandler Center, it's losing $750,000 a year. When you look at the aquarium, deferred maintenance is not anything new. If you have a strategy, if you have a plan, and there's decisive action on council, which guides the manager to take decisions, then we solve those problems. We have Atlantic Park. I was the only council member to receive the report, ask for the report, read the report, and go figure. They told us at the beginning, this won't work, but we ignored their report. We have to have leadership that actually relies on the subject matter experts. Thank you.
To the question, certainly it does matter who manages those different facilities. One case in point that's important with the sports center, oversight, not doing yearly reviews of what's happening in those different facilities oftentimes causes us to be reactive. The issue with the sports center, that's something that could have been caught. That's something that could have been addressed before, but no one knew it was happening because it wasn't reviewed on a yearly basis. It wasn't audited. And so you have an instance where the taxpayer ends up paying for something that they shouldn't be paying for. And so it's going to be important for us to make sure we have the right folks managing those facilities, but also make sure that taxpayer dollars go to what they want. And those are things like parks, recreation, educational facilities and institutions for our children. And so we're going to have to make sure that we are using the citizens' taxpayer dollars and not having them pay for something because it's poorly managed.
Okay, thank you all for that. We're going to shift back over to the sheriff. Aldo, you'll be first on this question. Can you hear us, sir?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, absolutely. We have we have integrity problems in our courts that affect everybody's safety. We have problems with judges that are not following codes, not following standards, and the sheriff's department is complicit in this. So I would restore accountability. I have already started that process with open petitions filed to the circuit court that have been sent to the Supreme Court. The first one was filed in March 27th. The second one was filed June 4th. We need to address accountability in our judicial system. And by doing that, we will make our courts and our system safer for everybody, because we will be operating based on integrity and truth, not the current system we have that is running on deception and tyranny. I'd encourage for the audience to visit courtofpublicawakening.org to read the documents yourself.
I haven't, we protect three court, we protect the General District Court, Juvenile Domestic Relations Court, and Circuit Court. We have over 25 judges. We screen thousands of people each week that come through our jail. We don't have a security problem there. We're constantly monitoring that and make sure that we get folks into the courtroom and get them to the location they need to be. The allegations and things I'm hearing here apply nothing to the courtroom security. We secure the judges. We provide bailiffs in courtrooms we're not required to by the comp board. We provide bailiffs in civil court, which we're not required to. So we're constantly reviewing our processes every day of how we can make the courthouse more secure. Now, we are seeing an uptick of some folks coming in that are getting held in contempt of court because they don't know how to act in the courtroom, so they're getting taken out of the courtroom. But we're certainly seeing an uptick in that, and we're making sure that we take care of that when we see it. Thank you.
Okay, we will start with Mayor Dyer. So how can the city best encourage redevelopment of vacant and struggling sites in the strategic growth areas so that affordable housing and new construction are located where access to transportation and city services already exist?
You know, I think that's great. We do have that is a major problem that we are confronting. And once again, transportation is another problem. We're not like New York or Chicago, where we have a grid system that lends itself to public transportation. So we have to go with other types of methods. But once again, we just have to have a strategy and an understanding that we have to increase, because we're going to have growth in Virginia Beach. As the governor says, Virginia is open for business, but people especially want to come to Virginia Beach now. And that it's very important that we have a strategy, that we build adequate housing, but we also build the infrastructure for the businesses that we're going to need to carry us in the next future and make us financially sustainable.
Well, you're right. What did the governor do? Reduce tax rates, gave us tax bases, and reduce taxes. So that's a good start, number one, because that reduces the cost of business for everyone. So we can use a little bit of city council reducing taxes. Secondly, we need to be willing to put up property that we have already. That Circuit City property the city owns. It's right there next to people who need lots of workers who are at the low end of the pay scale. Walking, transportation, places to eat, places to shop. Why aren't we putting that on the table? The easy fruit we aren't even picking. So before we start talking about subsidies, let's talk about the opportunities where no subsidies are required. So walk the talk and stop giving subsidies to luxury apartments. That's a good first step, I think. And secondly, lowering taxes for everyone makes it easier for people to conduct business. And let's do the same kind of contract review we give to Amazon. Let's let every builder have that same kind of expedited review of their work.
It is a candidate that's had experience in multifamily housing. Within the first 3 months on campus, I asked the city manager for our maps. It took about 3 days to go through the maps. There are vacant properties that we could be purchasing. And again, for those that are concerned about the money, $150 million for a CERT park, that you're going to own a parking garage and an event space. We could work together collaboratively, look through the map, identify opportunities, then go and partner with developers or builders that want to build affordable housing and provide that to the constituents. Or we could do a land bank and start land banking and putting money aside each year to build. But instead, what we do, we sell property below market rate to someone, then give them money to develop it, and then they bring in apartments at $1,500, $2,500 a month. And we're competing against the military because they get BAH, whereas the normal citizen does not. This is not difficult, but it will require leadership that's bold enough to sit down with the stakeholders, which is you all, and determine what you want to do. Thank you.
So it is important to make sure those vacant properties are identified and make sure the maintenance is up to standard. There's several properties out there that we could use for affordable housing, but they need to be maintained and kept on the books for affordable housing, not put out into the market so that it can be used to increase rents and income for folks and making it more difficult for them to have affordable housing. And it's also going to be important, we're working with folks who are nonprofit organizations like our churches. They also have a stake in affordable housing. They would love to partner with the local government to make sure perhaps property that's in excess that they have can be used to provide affordable housing. So we just really need to look at what we have on the books, work with our local partners, nonprofits, and make sure we provide a reasonable supply of affordable housing for all, our young adults, seniors, and most importantly as well, our city staff and public safety.
You know what I find interesting is all these properties that are supposedly out there, you have to ask yourself, how many units could you put on these properties? How many units are we talking about here? 100, 200, and at what cost? I agree with some of this frivolous spending. You have to ask yourself a question. How is it some of the biggest developers, the richest people in town, can start a project that gets $60 million, and then we go up to $150 million, and we ain't finished yet? Who is a developer or a business owner who go, I want to start my budget at $100,000, and at year end you're at $2.5 million and wonder why you're out of business, unless you're getting subsidized by the government? Nobody can take that. Your performers need to have somebody overseeing it that knows what the heck is going on with them. That's what's not happening here. There's no oversight. There's no leadership. These are bad deals. Every one of them have been a bad deal. We could sit here for 10 minutes and I could go through every single one of them, from the convention center to the sportsplex, and I've talked about it over 20 years. I was the one screaming about it. Need new leadership.
Thank you. Now we have another question for our sheriff candidates, and we will start with Sheriff Holcomb. 2 correctional center inmates and 2 deputies were exposed to fentanyl, requiring Narcan and medical attention. With the growing prevalence of fentanyl, do we need to take additional measures to protect our jails from dangerous contraband such as fentanyl?
Yes, and yes, and that, it was not, I don't know what case they're referencing, but on last year on Easter Sunday, we had 5 deputy sheriffs that were exposed to fentanyl and 3 inmates. An inmate had secreted some fentanyl inside her body and brought her into the jail and wanted to have a party inside the jail. And so we had to shut down Satara Princess Anne. The fire department hazmat team came in. So we immediately tried to find out how we can solve this fentanyl problem, because I can tell you this fentanyl problem is terrible. 1 gram can kill 500 people. So what we did was we started working on a canine detection dog for fentanyl, the first one that we know of on the East Coast. So we started a canine fentanyl dog, and it took us about 9 months to get it fully certified. So we have that online right now that can sniff for fentanyl. And when inmates come in and prisoners come in, we do an x-ray of their body to make sure we can find all the contraband that comes in. This fentanyl stuff, folks, is very nasty, I promise you. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Great, thank you. I can speak to this firsthand as well. When I was unlawfully jailed in October of 2023, I was the 3rd man on the floor next to the toilet in a jail cell built for 2. 2 of the gentlemen that were there were using drugs that they were getting from inside the jail. I saw it firsthand. There definitely needs to be more security. our jail is being run improperly. There are allegations that the judges are putting people in jail who don't have attorneys, and then they leave them there until they hire an attorney who they have to pay several $1,000s to in order for them to get some sort of grace or way out of the jail. There are concerns about, again, I mentioned earlier about how the commissary is being run with pricing being too high. Let me show you another example. My commissary account was funded with $50. When I left 3 days later, there was $44 in it because the jail takes $3 a day out of your commissary account. The jail, when they checked me out, had me sign a document, said they would send me the check for $44 as a refund. 9 months later, I never got that money, not until I filed a.
So we have one final question for all the candidates, and this will take the form of your closing statement. And I'll turn that over to Mr. Adams to ask that question to each of you.
Yes, this last question, we'll start with Mr. Moss, and the question is, why should voters select you as mayor?
The mayor is a $2.6 billion enterprise. It is a body that confiscates your income. You need someone who has a proven track record. For 42 years, I worked as a resource manager for the Navy, handled over $22 billion. That's quite a bit of money. And when I retired, the Secretary of the Navy awarded me a Distinguished Civilian Service Award because of how well I did that. When in my 17 years of council, many of you know, there was not a more aggressive or more competent and experienced person in looking about how to better manage, better prioritize, and who did the heavy lifting and the homework that the job requires. I think today, more than ever, we're heading into some heavy financial headwinds, and I think you need a presiding officer of the city council that can use the agenda and conversations with his colleagues to put the tough choices before the bill payers, rather than making that decision for you, making you a full partner, and that's what leadership does. Thank you.
Preparation of my comments, I want you to think about all the questions that have been asked tonight and measure that with my experience. Local, came back. One of the biggest issues we have is people don't come back. Coach, school, children, we're committed. Our children are going to be in our public schools for a long time. Liaison to housing advisor, main issue. The mayor put me in the position. Liaison to military economic development, issue. Liaison to housing advisory, school modernization, small business owners, started from scratch, grew it, sacrificed to run for office, still here. We need someone in this position that is committed to serve Republicans, Democrats, independents, no dependents, regardless of party. The mayor should be independent, and watch out over the next couple of weeks. You're going to see the money that's funneling in to this election. I'm independent. They can't tell me what to do. Your voice is the most important. Your vote's going to determine who's going to sit there, and my priority will be the community. Vote Chris Taylor, November 5th. Thank you very much.
I'll start this the same way that I ended. I'm running for mayor to make sure your priorities and concerns are placed first. I often sit down every week at the table and I see and hear that your priorities are not put first in making these really important, tough decisions. So what I propose as mayor is having a shared vision. What you heard here tonight, what you hear often, is that there is a vision for the city, local government, and there are residents who also have a vision. What we need is a convergence of those two visions, a shared vision. It's time for us to work together to make sure that we're moving our city forward, so that it's a place where our children will be proud to inhabit, the next generations. It's a place that we will make sure that those who come over here are able to, in terms of who want to retire here, have a place that they're proud of. And that happens when you have a shared vision. A shared vision is one of those that's most important, and it works. And so, as you vote for me, make sure you go to www.votingformayor.com.
So I need to cut this back on. Is it back on now? transparency, tenacity, trust, truth. For 24 years, I've been behind the scenes fighting for you. When bad deals came up, I didn't run from the fight. I ran to the fight. Millions and millions of dollars has been spent against me by the Good Old Boy Network to make sure I don't get elected. Did you all know that? Millions of dollars. Light rail, bad deal, I led that fight. Corruption, I put it on signs all over the city. Law and order, I put it all over the city. Bad public-private partnerships, I led the scream. Bad convention center, I led the scream. The sportsplex, I led the scream. And all now, everything I said has come true. Isn't that amazing? Can you only imagine what I could do if I was inside the system and I'm able to do what I can do and know and fighting for you? Because truly, you are the bosses. I'm fighting for you every single day. I don't need to do this. Think about it. Change of venues.
Let me say thank you for being here. Proven and tested leadership. A lot of folks can lead when times are going well, but when times get challenging, it's important you have a person that, with my experience being a Marine and my experience building relationships, we live in a great city. I go all over this city in many ways. I've been in thousands of homes as a physical therapist. Believe me when I say a lot of people are very happy in this city. But what I bring to the table with the difference with my opposition is the fact that I'm a Marine and I have a magnificent relationship, with all the branches of the military here. And guess what? With the world stage these days, you're going to need a tested leader, because heaven forbid, if we go to armed conflict, you're going to need somebody that has those bridges built with our magnificent military. And once again, I thank you all. God bless you. God bless Virginia Beach. Thank you.
Okay, the last question for the evening is going to be for Mr. Aldo, and that question is, why should the voters vote for you as sheriff?
Yes, thank you, sir. You should go to the Court of Public Awakening and see what I'm already doing. You don't have to vote for me to see the peacemaker sheriff I am and will be. Please go to Court of Public Awakening, watch the videos for yourself, read the document. Go on Court of Public Awakening to the Take Action section. Number 3, contact Sheriff Holcomb and the Virginia Beach Sheriff's Office and demand they release the videos from the 7/15 grand jury hearing. You will see excessive force and abuse of our citizens who are attempting to lawfully present evidence of corruption in our courts and fraud upon the public to our grand jury. They were stopped. They were falsely arrested. They were falsely jailed by Mr. Holcomb, who is our unlawful sheriff. He was not duly elected. Go to courtofpublicawakening.org, read for yourself. You can see the sheriff that I will be, elect me, and we will restore accountability together and improve our collective reality together. Thank you very much.
Same question to Sheriff Holcomb.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. And let me tell you one thing that I teach my crime fighters at the sheriff's office. The most important ability you can have is your dependability. And you can depend on me to be here to answer to you, the citizens. I got a call that this forum came up, and my wife and I had something scheduled. We had to completely rearrange for me to be here. The ability, the accountability to be here to answer to you, the citizens. I have 33 years of crime fighting at the sheriff's office. I've held every rank. I've held every position. I've worked in every division. And I can promise you, I bring the very best quality leadership to the citizens of Virginia Beach and become a sheriff for all people. Now, we've heard a lot of things here tonight, but let me tell you this right now. You have an open invitation to come to my jail at any time and tour my jail. And for many Saturdays during the winter, we were giving tours in our jail. Many people in here have been through my jail. Please come down to the sheriff's office, take a tour, and see for yourself what's going on. The other stuff that you're hearing tonight it's rather absurd and it's confusing. But I can tell you one thing, your sheriff's office in Virginia Beach stands ready for you. Thank you.
Well, good evening. This comes to the end right here. we'd like to thank our moderators and the timekeeper tonight. Let's give them a great round of applause. And also, we would like to thank our candidates who showed up and participated. We'd like to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart to each one of you, thanking you, because this is what we do, is try to give a citizen opportunity to engage with the candidates so they can make an intelligent decision who they want to hire as mayor and as sheriff. Also, the Hampton Roads Black Caucus will have an independent surveyor to formulate questions and send it out to the candidate. Then you send it back into the independent surveyor. The surveyor then sends it to our members, and our members then will vote and tell us who to endorse. If you win our endorsement, we will put it on, you will get our seal of endorsement. It will be published in the Virginia Pilot and our website and across our social media. Also, Ms. Nina Francis, who is our president, she has a podcast called Let's Talk. You can schedule, she will advertise about 2 weeks, let the people know that you're going to be able to talk about your platform. You can spend an hour or two on there with her and take questions from the community about your platform and how you will lead the city into the future. Okay? Make sure that you answer your survey, because when we send it to the citizens, our members, and you don't respond, we put no response. And for you not to respond, that's telling those citizens that I don't care about your vote. And so that's up to each and every one of you. Also, the Hampton Roads Black Caucus is membership driven. Today, it's a $25 off if you want to join. And you can see Ms. Latour Robinson right here. She can sign you up, show you how to sign up, become a member of the Hampton Roads Black Caucus. We are non-partisan, we are independent. We are either Republican, Independent, or Democrat. We are about our 4 pillars: improving the economic development of African Americans, improving the education, improving our political access to the political process. Okay, and so we welcome each and every one of you. I'm gonna turn it over to the co-sponsor.
Breakfast of Champions.
Also, the Breakfast of Champions, where we will be honoring some trailblazers on the 21st of September at the Chesapeake Conference Center. People that we have honored is like Latrice Spraghorn, who's the first African-American female to sit on the council. Mayor Kenny Alexander, who became the first Black mayor. One of the, Ms. Wright, who was one of the 17 at Norfolk that integrated public schools. Also, people like Eric Moody, one of the top Black attorneys in this city. Also, we honored Mr. Pharrell Williams, and the list goes on and on. So come out. We also honored our first Black female lieutenant governor of the state. So join us on the 21st, and you can sponsor tables and do whatever. But I'm going to turn it over to our friend, Mr. Norris.
I just want to say thank you. I'm not going to hold you. I want to thank you for our tech guy who provided the sound. If you guys are familiar with a show called Poolside Cooking, he's also the DJ for Poolside Cooking. I want to thank the food, Old Soul Royal, I think that's the name of it. Again, thank you to the candidates, moderators in the audience. Good night.